My mom still does the thing where she's watching a show and she calls me. She goes, "Why aren't you on this? You should really have an Oscar already." You know, I'm like, thank you. That's very sweet, Mom.
Welcome to Story and Craft. Now, here's your host, Mark Preston.
All right, here we are back again, another episode of Story and Craft. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it greatly. New to the show, thank you very much for checking it out. And if you've been here before, thank you. Thank you so much for coming back by. Today, we are sitting down with the lovely, the talented Catharine Daddario. Really enjoyed this chat. She's got a new movie coming out on May 17th called If. It's the new John Krasinski movie that literally seems to have pretty much everybody in the world in it. You've got Emily Blunt, Ryan Reynolds, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Sam Rockwell, so many more to name, including my guest today, Catharine Daddario. We cover a lot of ground talking about what it's like to grow up as a little kid in New York City. Also, what's it like to have two working actors as siblings? Her brother, Matthew, and her sister, Alexandra Daddario, also successful actors. We just kind of talk story. Really enjoy this chat. And also, quick request, if you would, no matter what podcast app you are using, make sure to like this show. Also, follow the show. That way you get notified every time there is a new episode. Leave a review as well. Remember, liking the show, following it, leaving a review. It helps out so much to kind of spread the word about the mischief we're stirring up here at Story and Craft. And of course, everything you could possibly want to know about the show, head to storyandcraftpod.com. It's all right there. All right, so let's get after it. Today is Catharine Daddario Day, right here on Story and Craft. Are you in LA right now?
I'm in LA, yes. I moved here like a year ago, so that's where I am.
I saw somewhere you're a New York kid, right?
Yeah, born and raised. I was there for 30 years.
So you've only been in LA for a year. So what are you thinking about it?
I'm getting used to it. I think everyone from New York has a difficult transition time with LA. It's got all the great restaurants and museums. It's a great place. It's just like not the kind of city I was raised with. When I think of a city, I don't think of needing a car.
Now, did you grow up in the city or did you?
Yeah, in Manhattan.
Yeah, were you one of those kids that like, when I was growing up, being I'm a Gen X kid or whatever, but people that I knew up there were like 10 years old or getting on a subway. It's not even, you have kids traveling on the buses and subways. And
yeah, we were latchkey kids. So we just kept our key with us. I remember third grade is when our elementary school started letting us out for lunch. And then my mom was like, "Oh, I guess you should like have a little bit of a curfew." So like a 5 p.m. curfew. And then
wait, so they let you out for lunch?
Yeah, so you have to stay within like a half a mile, like a couple block radius, and you go to those restaurants instead of like 8-year-olds running around.
Wait, this is third grade?
Yeah.
They wouldn't let us do that until we were like seniors in high school. Then they would let us go to Whataburger or like a local burger place. So third grade.
That's the New York way.
Yeah, I don't think they'd let us be on the playground unsupervised. The decision to move from New York to LA, was it just work-based? Just have you always wanted to live there? Or, what got you to LA finally?
I've always wanted to live somewhere else, but New York is kind of a hard place to leave because it has everything. But when I turned 30, I was like, okay, well, let me do this. And then LA is where the industry is. And I also have friends and family here. So it kind of was a very easy transition.
I'm still mind boggled that you're over 30. Are you still playing much younger?
Yeah, people still think I'm a teenager. It's very crazy. I think some of it's the way that I look. I think some of it's the way that I act. A little childish. But yeah, I'm still doing teenager, but I'm starting now also to do like mom roles.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm like that in between.
So, but you're playing a mom right now. This is the first time you've done that, right?
Yeah. This is the first time I'm a mom. I've sort of moved into like big sister, and now I'm a mom in If. Yeah, I play like young bees. So Kaylee Fleming's young part, Audrey Hoffman, who's so sweet and amazing. I play her mom in the movie. It was really, really fun to be on a set like that. I've never been on, as an actor, such a large set. And it was so interesting. Like, for me, I had gone from working on some indie projects and a horror. And then like those directors that I worked with, like Kat Gwelly did an amazing indie project with me. She's a first-time director, and it's called The Tributaries. And she's just so about the emotions and like would sit down and chat with you and be so invested. And it's a very serious role and the whole thing. And it was so incredible to work with her and like have that collaborative process. And then If was so interesting because there was still the collaborative process, but John is so positive. I've never worked with a director who just wants to like inject aggressive positivity into everything. Watching him work was incredible. I was like, after, people are putting in long days and nights and are exhausted. And then you get to set and John's just like amping everybody up, staying focused, like keeping it moving. And it's a tough job that he had, like,
but he's still in there, all enthusiastic.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the kind of director you want, though. You want somebody who comes in there who's ready to rock and roll.
Oh, absolutely. I was stunned. I was like, wow, he didn't seem like he got tired once. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And that was really great for our stuff. Because I worked with like a 5-year-old at the time. So having that energy there was really, really phenomenal.
Okay, I was about to ask you. I was wondering how old your daughter's supposed to be. She's a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I think she was 5 and 6 when we were shooting.
This has got such an amazing cast, but it seems like to me a lot of that cast, that's a lot of voiceover that's happening in a studio. You're live action with her.
Yes, it was really incredible to be on that set and see some of also how they shoot some of the imaginary friend stuff, which is, done in post, but you have to prep it on set. Everyone, it was so talented. I mean, working with like such big names and on such a big production was amazing. I mean, Fiona Shaw is so nice, and everyone was just like it's funny because you understand why certain people are like as big as they are. I'm like, these people are all incredible. Every single person I've met.
Now, I know your she's done 1 or 2 things here and there.
Yeah, that's all. Just 1 or 2.
What about your folks? Like, were you coming from like an arts background at all?
Our parents were lawyers. Yeah, my mom was like a contract lawyer. My dad worked for the government. And my mom actually, her undergrad was in piano. And then she went to law school after because she couldn't get a job. And which is just like such a funny decision, like over wine, be like, I can't get any respect. What should I do? Go to law school. It's crazy. But that's what it was back in the day, I guess.
Yeah, because attorneys get so much respect in this country.
I know. Yeah, seriously. But they're both pretty badass. And we got into the arts kind of young. I had like a speech problem growing up called childhood speech apraxia. And I got into theater in part kind of to get over that. And also I just really wanted to do it. And I joined this repertory company in 6th grade. And then we just kept performing, and that was all through high school in New York. And we went around with that. And then, I did like a program at Stella Adler.
If you could look back when you were in 6th grade, like how did it affect in a positive way your ability to kind of, or first of all, did it help? Did it help the condition?
Yeah. When you don't have language or a good grasp of language, you can't communicate and you can't learn, and making friends is difficult, and reading is difficult, like everything. So having these scripts pre-written, and then I have to wear a mask. So it's not me saying anything, like I don't have to be careful with anything. I just have to know where the character is coming from, is a very safe space. And to learn history through old plays and just be able to study something over and over and over again until you have it memorized absolutely helps with language and helps with everything that comes with that problem. I also was in speech therapy for years, but yeah, I got into theater for that reason, and then I just absolutely fell in love with it.
Of course, you're young doing this. Were you the first one, like 6th grade, we'd like 11, 12 years old. Were you the first one of the family who decided to dive into acting, or was this something kind of percolating around already?
I think Alex and I started at the same time, and then we got repped, and she started getting cast in commercials, and then she got on that soap opera, which now I forget the name of. And like, my God, some of my favorite actors got on soap operas, like Margot Robbie, phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
You get like the best training ever. So she was like basically in acting school every day going there. And then she, was studying it in school and taking classes. And then she just her career kept moving upwards.
How did the acting thing land for you? I mean, you had a reason. There was purpose. Like you're feeling like it would help. It was fun. Did the interest wane ever, or were you, since 6th grade, have you been going nonstop?
No, I tried really, really hard to do anything but acting. I think, seeing my sister sort of succeed in it, I think I was like, oh, this is actually really hard what she's doing, really tough. And I just really wanted to do anything else. And especially like as a kid, I would see my mom, in her heels and her wonderful pencil skirts going into the office. And I was like, I want to be a businesswoman. And so I got a job at a newspaper. I got a job. I mean, I worked in so many different places, museums. Yeah, I thought I was going to do all kinds of different things. I worked at an agency for a while. My degree is ultimately in linguistics and rhetoric. Like, it's not in acting. I really tried hard to not be an actor, but I love it more than anything else.
That non-acting training and schooling has got to help at least at some level in some random, way.
Oh, absolutely. I also am much better at accents and analyzing scripts because of it.
When you started getting rolling, let's go back to like post 6th grade. Were you thinking on stage, on camera? Were you wanting to do anything in particular that was grabbing you? I mean, what was the North Star for you as a young actor?
I mean, I grew up doing stage plays, and so I really fell in love with that audience interaction that you have, and just the element of it being live every night really is incredible because you are so dropped in completely each time. And it's like you're taken out of your body for however long the show is, which is just incredible to me. And then I started doing more film work and learning more about it. And I think that while theater is my first love, I think film is my true love because it's so collaborative in a different way. As an actor on stage, you do interact with everyone else working in the theater, but very much so it's a collaborative process between the other actors and the director, and that's kind of it. And on film, it's like the DP who's going to be amazing. Like, to know that stuff is just unbelievable to me. And the lighting people, and you get to talk to every single person and sort of be like, okay, how can we improve this performance through sound and and you really get to see it all come together. It's really, really wild. So I think I like that the most.
You're young doing this, at least initially. Was your family really down with it? Were they like, I don't know, acting? Or are they like, anything but law? It's cool.
Our parents were both very like, look, we're lawyers, so you don't have to be. Just whatever you do, don't be lawyers. And then all three of us, I also have a brother. He was on Shadowhunters. He's also a fabulous deal.
He's also a fabulous deal.
Yes, he is. And my parents were like, no, we meant like doctors or scientists. We didn't mean actors. What is that? But we're all doing pretty okay with it. So now I think they're on board. Took them a second, but they weren't ever like hateful about it. They just wanted us to have backups.
Now, since you've landed in LA, I always end up talking food at least once or twice. Where's your place where you like to go sit down and grab a bite? Like, have you found your place, either that or I'd say coffee, but there's a bazillion coffee places. But where do you like to go grab a bite in LA now?
Yeah, there's so many good coffee places. It's also, coffee is just one of those things that each place you go, you're going to get something different, like, because different places have different things that you like. So I live in the Valley. I really like this place in Sherman Oaks called Anna Jack. It is phenomenal. I believe that the chef won a James Beard recently, and it's Thai food, and it's just, it tastes like the best chefs in the world making you a home cooked meal.
Cantor's Deli is always one of my go-to. I got to hit that place at least twice.
Oh, that's a classic. Yeah. That's phenomenal. There's a lot of like deli places like that in New York too. Cantor's is so great.
You know, as a Jewish boy down south where we don't really have that many deli, well, definitely not here where I live now. I live in South Padre Island. There are no delis here. There may be one bagel place. We're not sure. So it's kind of a weird place to be. So the experience of growing up in New York, as a New York kid and having that freedom and the kind of the culture and all that jazz, LA kind of, well, obviously for vocation reasons, it makes sense to be there. But is there anywhere else you were looking to live, or, you know, are you a beach kid, or are you like mountains, or do you like to be out in the desert? You know, where's your happy place?
I love hiking and I love mountains. Definitely that's like, I love the mountains, I think, more than the beach. But ultimately, I really just long for a concrete blanket. Like I love just city. I know that's so strange, but anywhere that I can go and walk, I'm happy, which I have been hiking a lot. Like I went up to Mount Rainier recently and the Olympic National Park as well, and Zion and Bryce. And I've discovered that like, it really doesn't matter what my surroundings are. If I can just walk all day, I'm good. But like LA is fabulous for all these different restaurants that you mentioned. New York is fabulous for the same reasons. And like here, people say, oh, maybe the Mexican food is better here. And then in New York, like I've had difficulty finding really amazing Indian or Egyptian here. I'm sure it's here. I just don't know where. So I'm really excited to go back to New York and get some of that. And both places are so diverse. It's like not a problem food wise.
I haven't had lunch yet. So I'm sitting here listening going, well, that sounds good.
What kind of food is there?
Well, we're 35 minutes from Mexico, so Mexican food most certainly.
Oh, right. I forgot it's there.
But yeah, it's seafood. It's a very southern tip of Texas. The you know, right, throw a stone, you hit like Elon Musk's launch facility for SpaceX is right down the way, 5 miles from us. So so that's kind of how far south we are. But yeah, Mexican food, seafood, yeah, we got that. But man, I miss some quality Indian, and yeah, that's, you know, so you got me thinking food now, or I got myself thinking food apparently.
Sorry, anyone listening to this.
You're okay. How did that come across? Was it an audition? How did that role come to you?
A very strange sort of situation, which is not the usual situation. You know, I've auditioned, I don't even, thousands of times in my life. This was not that. This was, I met John Krasinski in a very weird way. And it just sort of worked out. Very, very strange. I feel very weird about it because like I'm so happy about it. And I think it really did work out. But I was like, wow, this is so bizarre because I've auditioned for like thousands of things and it just kind of happens like that. Like, but that's sort of how every role has been. Like I auditioned for like a music video years ago and then the director called me to do a feature. And I didn't audition for it was so strange.
So you just happen to be there and they're like, you know, we got this other thing going on that we think you'd be good for.
Yeah. So I like had met John and he was lovely and told me about it. And I was like, absolutely. That's great. And I think it sort of is one of those things that like once you are working consistently, someone can vouch for you, you know, and someone will be like, look, like they can do the thing. And then people are like, oh, that's so much easier than going through a casting process of 8,000 people. So it's sort of really a lot of trudging along in the beginning.
Being in LA or even New York, and you got to get from one audition to the other. And you get, you know, if you're fortunate enough to be busy, you know, it's got to be nice for you just to kind of stay at home, put a little backdrop up, record, or do you have like some friends that, you know, whenever you're auditioning, you just...
Yeah, I mean, you tell me what you think of it. I think it's a different thing completely. Like When I used to do it in New York, in LA, it's different because you got to drive around and you have your car full of stuff and costumes, and everyone here is always looking fabulous. In New York, people don't necessarily show up to auditions looking fabulous because you've trudged through snow in the subway and it's 100 degrees and it's you're not in like an AC or heated car, and you've got your bags with you for the day. So you've got like your work clothes for whatever shift you're doing or office job. You've got your costume for the audition, and you've got your workout gear and like maybe a night outfit. And like, you're just like a bag lady every day. And you're going from, I remember the pilot season was like so many auditions in a day, and it was all like 24-hour turnaround. It was like you'd find out the night before and just dash, dash, dash. And you'd be memorizing like 80 pages and just like, whatever, just, trying to do the best acting you can and familiarize yourself with the character and all that stuff. And now it's so interesting because you do it at home and you try to create the same energy that's in the room when you're with other people, and you're coming in with that heat of like, just boom, I've done the work. Let's go. Okay, one time.
And plus, a lot of those places you go to have very poor construction, and they've got like really thin walls.
Oh, yeah, you hear everyone.
It's just like you going, oh, that was an interesting choice they made.
Yeah, I've had a couple really fun ones that are crazy. You hear like screaming and very bizarre things coming from the room, and I'm like, that was an interesting choice. Or I've been on the other end where I come out and people are like, oh, okay.
About what point in time? Because you said you had was it a developmental speech? What you were trying to overcome? Was it like a developmental thing?
It's a motor speech disorder. So it's basically like the connection between your brain and all your oral muscles are not super well connected. So you can't articulate things super well. And it's really strange. It's such an interesting thing to me that when you can't make the noises, like the sounds correctly, you also cannot understand things correctly. And you can't read things correctly. So it's very interesting to me that like it really does restrict everything.
Of course, getting into voiceover, was that, I don't want to use the word therapeutic, but was it helpful? Did you find, because that's just voice,
I think after 8 years of speech therapy that I had, I just have such a fascination with language now and such sort of a loosey-goosey attitude about the development of it. And I'm not strict about it with me. I think it sort of has weirdly given me a leg up ultimately. Like in that way, I don't know. It's just more fun for me because I have so much history with it.
Because you're just more cognizant of the different things that.
Yeah.
Going back to when you were a youngin' doing the acting thing and all that. Was that something that, your brother and sister, were they kind of like, oh, Kat's doing this kind of cool thing? Who was the first one to kind of jump into that of the three of y'all?
I really don't know. I think Alex and I got into it around the same time. I think we took the same first few classes at some random place. I don't remember, weirdly. We all had the same manager at one point, and we all were working. And then my brother went to business school, and then he got out and was like, I actually don't want to be a businessman. That sounds really boring. I don't want to be in an office all day. And that's when he actually started pursuing it. So he sort of had a delayed period. Although it's so funny because we all ended up at the same teachers. Like we all studied with this woman, Anne Rattray, who was amazing. And but I think Alex and I did it around the same time. And then we all signed with this one woman, and then we all kind of got started, and then we all went our separate ways.
On the scale of being very shy to being very precocious and rambunctious, where were you on that scale? Were you a very vivacious kid, or were you pretty much keeping to yourself?
Comfortable with the people I'm comfortable with, but otherwise very much keeping to myself.
It's so funny, the percentage of the actors I speak with, how many of them are naturally shy or they keep to themselves, but you're in this very a vocation that calls on you to kind of really kind of be exposed, for lack of a better way to put it.
That's why you get into acting, though, right?
I think so. I think it gives you a valve to open up that maybe in normal social situations you have a harder time doing. Maybe that's
Completely.
what do you like? Be it horror or be it comedy, or have you found a happy place that you enjoy?
I think I really like comedy. I haven't really had the experience of doing that one on film so much, but I think comedy is probably my favorite. I think it's probably the most fun to do, even though it's also very fast paced and quick and kind of maybe the hardest. Maybe that's why I like it, because it doesn't come easily to me. I don't know. I tend to do drama and horror pretty well because the really strong emotions are not super hard for me. You know what I mean? With the crying and the screaming.
Well, now I know a little bit more about how you grew up. No, I'm just totally kidding. Joking.
Oh no.
I'm playing, but I think it's fun to kind of be what you're not normally 24/7 like. It's kind of fun to get step out. If you're normally a pleasant and affable person, it's kind of fun to go be the villain or something like that.
Oh my God. The villain is the most fun.
Have you had a chance to do any?
No, I never get cast as villain. I think that makes sense. But as far as casting goes, you're probably right not to see it initially. But I think I'd love to see more villains that look like not villains. You know, like we have a cliche of what a villain is, right? It's sort of a strong, strange looking person with like an evil eye, but someone that looks really nice and sweet, or whatever that idea of what that looks like is like, to me, way more interesting. Someone who can just like turn on a dime. I would love to do that.
It was kind of funny because I was watching this the other day. Was it Bullet Train with Joey King and Brad Pitt?
Oh yeah, Joey's is in that. Yeah.
Where she's basically, I don't want to say a villain. She's not a nice person at all, but she's, she seems like sweet, innocent young lady, but she's a total tornado.
Yeah, actually, that explains why I like that so much, because she is. That movie is so fun. She really is kind of a great villain in that. And she gets sort of taken down in a really, no spoilers, I guess, but in a really fun way. I'm such a Brian Tyree Henry fan, and he's so great. I mean, everyone in that movie is so fun, and everyone's playing like sweet and villain. It's so great.
Growing up, what was the thing that like you thought was cool? You're like, that maybe it was an inspiring deal. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. What kind of movies did you enjoy, or what, even now, what are you watching?
Ooh, tough questions. Okay. Well, when I was growing up, I was really into strong female characters. I think still now. So that's like always what I wanted to play, but also with like funny feminine humor. So I don't know if you know The Bear by Chekhov, but like Elena Popova is in this little comedic one act by Chekhov, and she's very kind of flouncy and maybe not, like will she, won't she, and it's just very fun because she's so powerful, but she's just so flirtatious and like all over the place, and she's a mess. And growing up, I loved like The Strength of Bette Davis is like absolutely my favorite movies. And like I was obsessed with Gentlemen Prefer Blondes because, quite frankly, Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell in those movies are so strong, but still really feminine.
How are you discovering those movies? Were your folks watching them? Were you just like flipping through the channels on TV and just landing on it?
I don't remember how it happened, but I became really obsessed with this period of films. And I started watching I think I started with like Cary Grant, and then I moved to Catherine Hepburn, and then I was like, okay, what else? And like whoever had small parts, I'd look them up and then watch all their movies as a kid.
My favorite two OG, Catherine Hepburn and Cary Grant are like the OG,
Oh my God. And Cary Grant, I am obsessed with, because he came from England as an orphan, joined a circus, changed his name, came to LA, became a star. And in his early films, even in his later films, you can really see that physical control that he has. I love a dancer turned actor, all that kind of thing. I take stunts twice a week now because I just want to have that physicality. Oh my God, it's so fun. I feel like so much of what we do now, especially with lower budget things, is so close up and really great performances, but it's not everything that we can be doing. And I love like anything physical is such a fun addition if you have the time on set for it. Cary Grant in some of his movies like somersaults into rooms. It's insane.
See, he's to me like I think the closest to him we got now is maybe George Clooney, I guess.
Yeah, actually.
When you were growing up, like besides you mentioned Marilyn Monroe or Betty Davis, well, who are you like were kind of like the people that you like to, if they came out in a movie, you definitely had to go see it?
It's so funny because I've never been like that. Really. Like I love Sam Rockwell. I'll see anything he's in. He's really quirky.
You know, I would love to sit down with Sam Rockwell.
Oh my God. Brilliant.
Anything he's in, I'm going to go see.
Anybody who has a little bit of a theater thing, like Steve Carell is now in Uncle Vanya on Broadway. Like all these actors have this other thing and know how to switch it for camera. I think most of my favorite actors just have some other training. There was no one who ever I was like, I have to see. I'm much more story driven as far as going to movies is concerned.
With your sister Alex, do family meals ever kind of get into talking shop, or do your parents have like a Thanksgiving, like no talking about anything work kind of a thing?
We don't really talk about work. We get together and occasionally like I'll ask a little advice or like, so, you know, occasionally someone will be like, oh, can you read like a couple pages of the script and tell me what you think? Like, but like basically it's a job that it's also very strange because as you know, freelance work is a little stressful. And particularly this industry is like, you can go to set and shoot something for weeks and you're not in the final product. So don't get excited at any point, you know? So even when you've booked something, like we kind of don't want to talk about anything and jinx it.
I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, when do you allow yourself to kind of get excited? Is it when it finally comes out and it's released? Or I was noticing this the other day. I was working on something and I noticed how many films you wrap and just don't even get released for one reason or another. That's kind of stink as well. You know?
Oh yeah. No, a lot of those. Yeah. Yeah, it's such a big thing in the industry. So you try to avoid it. I get excited against my will. I get excited. So like I can't like prevent, like I'll hear good news and I get excited. And now I try to just be like, you know, my agents will call me with great news and I'll be like, okay, that's good. So what happens now? Like I get like kind of tense because I'm like, I don't want to actually be excited until I know what's happening. But that's like kind of how I take the excitement. You can't prevent yourself from feeling it, but sometimes you don't want to talk about it because you're like, it just at a certain point, you know, if you tell your friends a bunch of things, they're like, what happened to this movie and this movie? I'm like, well, that one ran out of funding. That one, you know, it's like, it's just how it is.
In what ways is it an asset to have somebody in your family who's out there performing and doing well, where you're not this kind of person out on an island doing this weird thing nobody gets? Is it, in what ways is that helpful? And in any way, is it not helpful at all?
I think family-wise, it's nice because they don't have to explain anything to them and they don't have to explain anything to me. We all kind of get it. We understand the rewards and the difficulties and everything like that. And then, you know, we can help each other with certain things like auditions. If we're in the same place or last minute I lose a reader, I can call somebody and have them help me. And it's good, like, you know, what acting class, what coach should I use for this one, that sort of thing. But I don't know that I think it's better than coming from a family that would want me to be doing something else. That's for sure. But I don't know what really other rewards other benefits there are than just being able to do it fully.
Yeah, no, that makes all the sense in the world, doing it fully, being able to, you know, not having to explain why it is that you have to God, I remember back in my radio days a long time ago, rest her soul, my grandmother, we're all night owls in our family. And she would be up, and this is when I was 20, 21. I was doing an all night radio shift in Dallas. My grandmother would actually be listening, and they're like, well, when are you going to do the morning show? When are you going to do that? It's like, well, it's not, they just don't, kind of explaining the ebb and flow and how things work.
Oh, our mom still does that to us. My mom still does the thing where she's watching a show and she calls me. She goes, why aren't you on this? You should really have an Oscar already. I'm like, thank you. That's very sweet, Mom. But it's not really. So I understand that. That's nice that your grandma was like, you should be on the morning show.
She listened to me at the most random times at night. And she'd be like 2:00 in the morning. She'd be like, she would call. She had the hotline phone number. You're sounding really good tonight. It was just the funniest thing. Besides the acting thing, what is it that is keeping you busy? What kind of things, sometimes you have to kind of really depart and separate yourself from it. What do you do? What do you do when you just kind of want to clear your head?
It's so funny because people say like, oh, what do you do outside of acting? And I'm like, well, I went to a museum and it inspired me in these, and I'm like, oh, dang, well, that's sort of connected to acting, but I love art. So I go to museums a lot and I do the stunt stuff, and it's a great workout and a great community. And I'm like, oh, but that's kind of related to acting. And like everything kind of comes back to it. But I do find that watching movies, I don't relax as much as I used to. It kind of needs to be a little bit of a bad movie for me to really enjoy it fully, because otherwise I'm like, oh my God, that camera.
I know that feeling. Yeah. You don't want something where you're so invested in it. Plus also you start making creative choices going, what would I do in that situation? Like, how would I handle that?
Yeah. Or like just admiring someone's work.
What are those movies you like to kind of go to? And you like, let's say you've ordered a pizza, maybe there's some wine involved, and you're just having a date night with yourself or a close friend. What kind of movie are you putting on?
Okay. So there's so many movies. Sometimes it's just a movie I've seen a million times, like a Devil Wears Prada type thing, super fun. Or like weirdly like Equilibrium or something strange like that I really love, but I know other people don't love. But recently I showed my friend a movie called Mouse Hunt, which it is Mouse Hunt, right? 1997. And it's so bizarre, and was the first movie that DreamWorks put out. And then they put out, like their live action, and it's such a strange movie, and I really think it's quite brilliant. So like that one is super interesting to me. Not a garbage movie at all, though. But I do like things like I just showed my friend Earth Girls Are Easy, which is just like a good time. Gina Davis, Jeff Goldblum, Jim Carrey, like everyone. Super fun. I have such a strange selection. I think these days it's more TV. I think most people do TV, right? They just mass consume and leave it running.
One last bit of going to your origin story, if you will. What were you doing in high school? I didn't kind of check in. Were you an athletic kid? Did you do the theater thing in high school?
No, my first high school is not athletics. Public school in New York, you can have athletics, it's true, but mine was not. And I didn't join any sports teams. I was kind of like just full-time doing the theater, doing part-time work, either at a school or a newspaper. I was working in a bunch of different places. Just love to be busy. That's kind of it.
What did y'all used to do when you were younger? Like, did y'all vacation a lot, or what would the Daddario family scenario be like come summer vacation time?
That's a good question, because my sister is like 6-7 years older than me, and my brother's like 5 years older than me. So slightly different sort of.
So you had it easy. You were the baby, basically.
Yeah, so easy. I did in some ways have it easier. They had paved the way for sure. But it's funny because we all had like different routes that we took. So like sometimes we each, I think, did like 1 or 2 summers of a camp, but like not more than that. And then we all got like summer jobs. And then that was kind of what we all ended up doing. So we would leave the city sometimes, but it was mostly, honestly, in the city. And we would go visit like my great uncle Jack and my grandparents, and that's Philadelphia and DC. And those were kind of the trips that we took, if we did trips.
Now, Daddario, is that an Italian name? It kind of sounds Italian.
It's Italian from the Abruzzo. Yeah, very good guess. And then my mother is Austro-Hungarian.
As far as the Italian thing, again, back to food, did anybody kind of bring that cooking tradition forward where, like, was your dad a cook? Was your, grandmother?
Yeah, my mom cooked really good, like, goulash, and, we'd had gnocchi, which is like spetzel, and she'd make, like, fun palatchinkas, which is like a Hungarian crepe, or, like, chicken paprikash. And my dad would make great Italian dishes all the time, different pastas and sometimes homemade different chicken things. But also, like, we grew up in New York and my parents were both full-time lawyers and we were all different ages. So it was very much like, okay, like, let's go to the Chinese spot and like, oh, how many pennies do you have? Okay, we'll hit the fruit stand and we'll go get like the 2 pizzas and a soda deal at this pizzeria. And we'll get the, this. It was like you planned out exactly what you had because we had very strict budgets, and that's sort of fun.
See, that to me would be the fun part of growing up in New York City, because you can walk to play. I grew up in Dallas, and we're married to our cars in that part of Texas, but being able to walk or take the train, that seems like a kind of a fun, magical, cool thing for a young kid in New York.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I understand people's fear of it, but at least at the time, being in New York, everyone was kind of looking out for kids. If someone saw something weird happening to us, I remember like people intervening, but generally they left us alone, and taking the train to a museum or to like a public free show in the park. And, I'd come home one day and be like, oh, I got a job today. my parents would be like, what? Oh, okay. Like, you just ran around. The city was your playground completely.
Yeah, it's funny because it seems like a very Gen X thing. You're kind of left to your own devices. I will say that was one cool thing about growing up back in the day. Yeah.
I think it's kind of gone now. Like your kids, I assume, don't have that. I don't know, because now, especially, like, I had a flip phone. That was my first phone. So it was the substitute for having to carry a quarter around with me. But now you hand your kids a full computer. I think it's a different lifestyle completely. You're not exploring and finding things. You're going to things you already found.
As we kind of start wrapping up, I have this 7 questions I like. It's a little extra get to know you, a little fun, if you will. I told you we go to food. Got to ask, what is your favorite comfort food? That thing you just love. It's pure happiness for you.
Without getting complicated, I think mac and cheese, because you can change it up.
Like, do you have some special way you dress up your mac and cheese?
I really like it super spicy. So I'll like maybe put chicken in it, but generally I'll add a lot of hot sauce or different peppers and make my own little thing.
Well, cheese and hot sauce have a wonderful relationship that needs to be explored more often. Yes.
Phenomenal.
My youngest daughter, when we get her pizza, hot sauce is always going on the pizza,
Oh, same. Yeah.
My kids grew up in New Orleans, though. So it's kind of like I'm from Texas. So it's kind of like they were bound to have hot sauce, as part of their life.
I love New Orleans. I mean, talk about great cuisine.
So mac and cheese with accoutrement there. That's very good. Now, I'm very curious. Next question: who you'd sit down with if you had a few hours to sit down and talk story with 3 people, living or not? Who would those 3 people be that you would love just to sit down and just chat with?
I don't know anything about Ray Bradbury's personal life, but his stories were so significant to me growing up. So I think it has to be him. And I think Betty Davis. Yeah, Ray Bradbury is really phenomenal. And I think Betty Davis. Oh, and I don't know. Probably another writer.
Were you a big reader when you were growing up?
Yeah, I was a big reader. a lot of books, and I would read science fiction like nonstop. I even like started to get anxiety about going to I had like a bad schooling experience. Like I love learning. It's my favorite thing, but I didn't necessarily love school. And I remember there were like 2 days that I decided I'm just going to go late because I started to like really hate certain things. And I would, instead of going to school, I would go to like Barnes and Nobles and read. So I would just like read through whole sections. But I would read all the time at home. And also like New York life, like my bag was just stuffed full of plays. You'd like read a play and like finish it in one subway ride. And then you'd like, my favorite thing was always collections of short stories, which is part of why I loved Ray Bradbury. Because you can read a story even in a short subway ride. So my bag was just so heavy every day. That was probably, yeah. So Ray Bradbury, Betty Davis, and then...
Did you like, was it Isaac Asimov, I think?
Oh yeah, Asimov's great. Yeah, all that whole generation of science fiction writers is really great. And actually I used to go to like local bookshops when I would travel in the Northeast, and they used to print their own collections. They'd like put money together to print all their stories. Or they'd like have one person who sort of made like a little magazine of short stories. And so that's a really great way to find new science fiction authors from that time period. Like Asimov is published in a bunch of those old like pamphlet booklets, you know?
Really? So a little bit of the nerd on the down low. I like that. Which is a good thing. It's a very cool thing. Now I have a question. Next question, if when you go back to being a young cat, who was your first celebrity crush?
No, I never had celebrity crushes. I just had people whose work I really liked, and people would be like, "Oh my God, who's your celebrity crush?" And I'd be like Paul Giamatti. Like I'd be like, I don't know. Like I really like him. I don't know. I think probably like you gotta give Jeff Goldblum his due, right? So maybe him.
A lot of ladies have a crush on him from, I think it started with The Fly, I think. Now, if you're going to be living on an exotic island, somewhere actually you really want to be, it's somewhere it's really nice. You're going to be there for a year though. And you have no streaming. You got to bring a DVD. If you want a movie, you got to bring a CD, an album, So for you, what would that one DVD movie be? And what would that album be that you would want to bring with you that would keep you company for that full year? For the book nerd types, I got to say, you can say what book you would bring as well. Because a lot of folks, having a book with them is important. So we'll put that in there as an option.
These are really hard questions. I've been rereading this one book called My Dark Vanessa recently, which is really phenomenal.
What's it called again?
My Dark Vanessa. It's sort of it was published during COVID, actually. It's by Kate Elizabeth Russell. So maybe that book. And movie is so hard. I'm always so bad at these because I like way overthink.
I'm the same way.
I think I'd probably bring like a classic. I'd bring All About Eve or something.
Well, what about music wise? Where are you at musically? What's your jam?
Music is so tough for me because I don't have any like one genre I like. Like I'll listen to anything. If I had to bring one album, maybe a Hendrix.
Okay. If you were to define for yourself from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, the component parts of a perfect day for you, what would that be?
Coffee. Lots and lots of coffee.
Now, do you make your own, or are you talking about going to a coffee shop?
I think the perfect day would be going to a coffee shop. I do make my own. I make pretty good espresso, but yeah. I also used to roast my own green beans. Now that I'm in LA, I have to figure that out again. But I used to like really be such a coffee snob, which is not good.
I appreciate that. My coffee grinder broke the other day and I had to go buy
pre-ground. Oh no.
To me, I felt like I was getting the McDonald's version of coffee. It's like, I want to grind my own beans. I got I was speaking with Billy Magnuson and I asked him, he talked about the ritual of making coffee in the morning. I'm like, yes, there's a thing. It's part of my routine. It's not just firing it up or instant coffee. I want to go through the grinding, and you roasted your own beans. That's crazy. I feel like I need to catch up.
Yeah, you can buy green beans, roast them. But I also love like just really trashy like bad diner coffee or bad cart coffee. Like, I don't mind it. And then there's like the other thing of really fancy espresso, like a Eurochef, like an Ethiopian bean, that's like freshly roasted the day before. It's fabulous. There's like two ends for me. So definitely like good coffee. Probably now, I think like just a walk with some friends, a good hike. It's like so easy to keep me happy. If I have a day off, I'm happy.
Yeah, where you don't have to be anywhere or do anything. You're just making you're mapping out your own day as it comes. Yeah.
Yeah, just seeing some loved ones. That's all.
Well, very good. I like that. Now, if you weren't able to make a living and really embrace the performance thing from, acting, whether it be voiceover, whatever, what would you be doing for a living? What would bring you joy?
This is a weird question. This is a weird one for me. So like I love science fiction and I got kind of into science for a long time, and I love doing little math. I'm not like for fun doing crazy hard equations, but I think I would have probably tried to get into astrophysics. Because I had tried sort of doing like museum curation and I really loved that. But I think ultimately that's what I would have gone to grad school for if I were capable of it.
Well, since you are a science fiction kid, you like that. What is your, maybe I'll give you a top 3. Or like, what are your favorite sci-fi shows that have come out in the last, I don't know, 5-10 years?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So okay. I feel kind of bad. I haven't seen Fallout yet, but I know I'm going to love it because I love the video game. Also, like, what do you consider science fiction, I guess, is sort of a good question. Like Westworld.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
I love Asa Gonzalez, but I haven't seen The 3-Body Problem yet. But I'm very excited to see it.
I just did. I didn't really know anything about it, honestly, walking into it. And I thought it was very cool. It was like, I like anything that's different. You watch something, go, okay, I have not seen this. I don't know where it's going. And that's kind of fun for me. Good science fiction, if I don't know where it's going, that's a ride I like to be on. Have you seen The Foundation at all on, I think it's Apple?
Oh, I watched some of it. That's really, really good. I also loved Electric Dreams, which only I think had 1 or 2 seasons, but really great. And now Paramount has, have you seen the new Twilight Zone? I haven't seen it. That's terrible of me.
I had that bookmarked in my mind to watch that, but I have not seen it yet.
I've heard it's great. There's so many.
The Expanse, I think I was a big fan of. So my son and I got him into it.
Oh, yeah.
The last question I got for you, if you were to jump in that DeLorean where you could travel back in time and you got a piece of advice for a 16-year-old Kat, either for that moment to make whatever you're navigating in life a little easier on you, or maybe put you on a little bit alternative a path to get you where you want to go. What's your piece of advice to 16-year-old you?
I think, try to enjoy the ride more. I think when you're a kid, it's tough. You feel like, especially 16, like, you're like, oh, I got to get into college. Or if I don't do college, I got to have a real, like, good reason not to. And I got to do, good work. And I was so worried about like, okay, well, I shouldn't be an actor because it's not like the sensible thing. And I think it's just like enjoy it more. I've
heard a lot of answers that are similar to that. Don't be so hard on yourself. Kind of just ride the wave and kind of be there. It sounds esoteric, but just kind of be in the moment. Don't stress. But I think at that age, you're kind of wired up to stress. Go, what college am I going to get into? Isn't that the thing about almost every teen movie? It's like, what college and relationships, and you realize, chill, it's going to be okay.
That stuff is going to be okay. There's a lot of other stuff that won't be okay, and that's the, what I mean. Like, don't worry about that stuff because that's all the small stuff. Like, life is pretty intense. Just focus on life.
Indeed. Well, what do you have coming up? I know if is coming out on the 17th. Is that when it comes out?
Yes, it comes out May 17th. I'm about to head to New York for the premiere, and I'm very excited. Yeah, it's going to be such a fun family movie.
I got to ask who's going to be your date for the premiere?
I'm bringing a whole posse. I'm bringing my mom. I'm bringing a couple of friends. I'm bringing my boyfriend. I'm bringing a lot of people. I got a whole gang rolling up with me, but we're all really excited.
Well, it's time to celebrate.
I'm excited for them to see it. It's going to be a super fun. I think it'll be really nice for them to see it. It's just a family time, and you don't get, as an adult, you don't get to see a movie that kind of makes you feel like a kid again. It reminds you of that stuff. And I think it does,
Indeed. Yeah. And what else do you have in the pipeline that's coming up here shortly?
Well, so I mentioned Cat Gwelly. That's for the movie The Tributaries. And we're having a world premiere at the end of the summer. I can't say where yet, but we're very excited about that. And it's like Mental Health Awareness Month right now. It's May, and that has to do with that, and is a very sad movie. Very much the opposite of If.
Well, you're really selling it, Kat.
No, it's really, really great. I think if you want an honest depiction of mental health and of a lot of things that people really do go through, it's perfectly honest. It's crazy. And I have a horror movie called Oak.
Very good, very good. So you're staying busy, and that's for an actor, isn't that great? You're staying busy, you're getting stuff done.
Unreal, heaven.
Kat, thank you so much again. I appreciate it. I'm always looking for fun and opportunity to connect with folks who are talented and when they got cool stuff going on. And I appreciate you sharing some time with me.
This was a great time, and I hope everyone goes to see If and has a great time there. Yeah.
Indeed. Best of luck on If, and I look forward to catching up down the line then.
Yeah, have a great one.
All right, there you go. The lovely, the talented, the very fun to talk to, Catharine Daddario. Really enjoyed sitting down and just talking story with her. Don't forget, her new movie is coming out on May 17th. It is called If. It's the new John Krasinski movie. It really looks like a fun movie, a fun family movie. And don't forget, when you have a moment, just jump on your podcast app. In fact, if you got your phone in your hand right now or wherever you're listening, make sure to like the show if you would. Also follow it. That way you get notified every time we have a new episode come out. And, of course, leave a review. If you so desire, that would be wonderful. It really does help out the show quite a bit. And don't forget, everything Story and Craft is available to you. Just go to storyandcraftpod.com. And that's how you can find out everything about the show, listen to past episodes, just pretty much everything's right there. Okay, so that does it for me for this episode. Thank you again for coming by and being a part of my mischief. I'm going to be back with another cool conversation shortly, and I'll talk to you next time, right here on Story and Craft.
That's it for this episode of Story and Craft. Join Mark next week for more conversation, right here on Story and Craft. Story and Craft is a presentation of Mark Preston Productions, LLC. Executive producer is Mark Preston. Associate producer is Zachary Holden. Please rate and review Story and Craft on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. You can subscribe to show updates and stay in the know. Just head to storyandcraftpod.com and sign up for the newsletter. I'm Emma Dillon. See you next time, and remember, keep telling your story.
Come on.